Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Andrew. Before I start, I just want to say that there might be 6,000 interruptions during this video, so just bear with me. The editing might be brutal for me later. We're supposed to be having a fire drill at some point in my apartment building today. I also am expecting a couple packages that might be delivered today as well. And of course, on top of that, right now, my cat is going crazy. He's very hyper at the moment, and he's literally bouncing off the wall. So you might hear him meowing in the background. He's totally fine. He's just crazy right now. He just woke up from a long nap, and he's got to get some energy out. So he's running laps around the apartment. Once I finish this video, I'll have to go and play with him. So I am going to start my series on religion as promised this week. However, a news story has come to my attention that I want to address before I start that series. So I will release my first two videos about religion on Wednesday and Friday of this week. And this video will be released on Monday. So there are some issues right now happening between the College of Psychologists of Ontario and Dr. Jordan Peterson. Now, I will say that this happened a couple weeks ago. I was aware of this a couple weeks ago. However, for the last couple of weeks, I pre-recorded some videos so that I could take a quick mental break. I knew going from Earthlings and then going into religion, both of those topics were pretty heavy, and I just wanted to be at my best for religion. So I pre-recorded some videos for the last 2 weeks, and now I'm back to recording each week. So what is the College of Psychologists of Ontario? Well, it's the governing body of psychologists for Ontario, and its mandate is to protect the people's interests by monitoring and regulating the practice of psychology. It's not the only college. Most professions that are considered professional have a college like this. So there's like a college of doctors, there's a college of teachers. There are others as well. Those are the two that come to my mind just off the top of my head. So what has happened is that people have made claims against Dr. Jordan Peterson, and it's up to the college to determine whether those claims are legitimate or not. And these claims have been made from different people from different parts of the world. Most of them, I believe, were in the US, but there were others in Europe, I think, as well. Dr. Jordan Peterson, by the way, talks about this on his own channel. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below, so check that out. It's a much more in-depth talk than what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, that'll be down there, so you can check that out. Now, I will point out, before I go into what he said and why people complained, that none of these people were actually clients of his. They were just people that saw his tweets online and then reported them. However, some of these people claimed, even though they weren't, they claimed that they were clients of his. Now, he, in his video, kind of brushed that off as potentially like the way you have to fill out the paperwork, it's kind of confusing, so he's giving them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it could be that. It could also be that they're just trying to put more emphasis on their complaint. And if it is shown that that's the case, my question would be, why is the college taking these claims seriously? And I will also point out, he's never had an accusation levied against him until he actually became famous. And he has also helped millions of people through the years. And so what are the complaints? Well, most of these complaints come from tweets that he's put out there. I, by the way, am not on Twitter. Multiple news sites from US and Canada have a list of these tweets that have gotten him in quote-unquote trouble. So I'll go over some of them, and then I'll go over what the College of Psychologists have deemed appropriate for Dr. Jordan Peterson. So Pierre Poilievre, who is the leader of the opposition in the Canadian Parliament and leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, tweeted criticisms to the mask mandates and lockdowns here in Canada. Jordan Peterson retweeted and also said he agreed. And someone complained that he said that. He's not allowed to agree with a criticism against our Prime Minister? That's weird. He has also, by the way, tweeted. I haven't included all of the tweets in this. I included some of them, but he's also criticized Justin Trudeau on multiple occasions for multiple things that he's done. I agree with a lot of what he says when it comes to criticizing Trudeau. I think Trudeau deserves every criticism he gets. He definitely, to me, seems like he's an authoritarian wannabe almost, and it's a little worrisome to me that that's who we have as our Prime Minister right now. That being said, he never wished harm on Trudeau. I would never wish harm on Trudeau. I just think he needs to be booted out of office as quickly as possible. But that's just my opinion, and you may have a different one, and that's fine, and I respect that. Another thing that got him in trouble was that police in Ottawa were threatening to act with Children's Aid to remove the children of the protesters of the Freedom Convoy on the grounds that their parents were endangering them. Now, this was even before they were going to go in and shut down that protest. So his tweet, and I've got it here exactly, so I quote, "Children removed? How exactly? Why exactly? By whom exactly? Sent to where exactly? And for how long exactly? Think this through, Canadians. This is a bad decision." And you know what? I absolutely agree with him. And by the way, I will point out, I don't necessarily agree with everything he has said in these tweets, but that being said, I still think he has the right to say them. We do have the right to free speech here in Canada. I know I've seen a lot of videos from Americans saying, oh, he needs to become an American because we're the only ones that have free speech. No, you're not. You call it something different, but you're not the only ones. Most of Europe, Canada, Mexico, US, we all have free speech. It's guaranteed to us. It's guaranteed in our Charter of Rights and Freedom, just like your First Amendment guarantees it to you. But just think about this for a second. The police and Children's Aid were going to remove children from the protesters because it was quote-unquote dangerous for the children. Okay, let's say you're a one-parent, let's say you're the only parent in that child's life, and you're on protest. You're probably not going to have enough money to have someone look after them, so you bring them along. I'm sure you're protecting them as much as possible. But let's think about it this way. If the police suddenly say, well, we can take your children because it could be dangerous for them, that's a great way to stop people from protesting, don't you think? That's a horrible slippery slope for me. That I do not like that idea whatsoever. It's a great way to stop people from protesting. Sure. Well, if you can't express yourself, because it might endanger your children. So, I don't know. I agree with Jordan Peterson when it comes to this one. There are others that I don't agree with him as much. One of them, for instance, he objected to what he called Elliot Page's, formerly Ellen Page, surgical mutilation. Those are his words, not mine. Don't get me. Don't start with me that I'm saying that. I'm going to do a whole series on transgender and LGBTQ plus. That's going to come later on. I will talk about it then. I don't know whether we should call it a surgical mutilation or not. but I'm going to cover that more in that series of videos. He also objected to Sports Illustrated cover showing an overweight model, saying this, and again I quote verbatim, "Sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that." Now, essentially what he's saying is that there is a beauty standard, whether people want to accept that or not, that's on them, but a beauty standard exists, and you can't force people to change their minds about it. It's not gonna work. I again am going to talk about fat shaming, fat phobia, and all of that stuff in another series I am going to be doing again eventually on this channel. I can't say exactly when. I've got a bunch of series planned, and I'm just trying to decide which one comes next. And for right now, I'm focusing my efforts on religion. So next, there was a debate online about, and there has been for years, we've been talking about this since I've been in public school, but there's a big debate going on still online about how high the world population will eventually reach. When I was in high school, the estimate was 50 billion, 12 to 15 billion, I should say. It turns out that in a lot of developed countries, the birth rate has gone down so significantly, it's like negative in some countries. So that has changed the outlook on how high it's going to peak. So Jordan Peterson commented on this, and he said, again, quoting verbatim, "We'll peak repopulation at approximately 9.5 billion, and there's no reason we can't be sustainable and prosperous in a well-maintained world." Now, he goes on to say something. I think there's a typo in it, so I'm going to say it as it's written, and then I'll say what I think he meant. If that's what we decade, so decide. I think what he meant to say is, if that's what we decide, so decide. So it should say, we'll peak repopulation at approximately 9.5 billion, and there's no reason that can't be sustainable and prosperous in a well-maintained world. If that's what we decide, so decide. Now, somebody commented back to him, and again, verbatim, "I disagree. Based on the record of human behavior, we are already overpopulating the small world. Any arguments I have heard for supporting such a large human population completely overlook the huge loss of species and ecosystems resulting from our self-absorbed attention." End quote. And Dr. Peterson responded, and again, quote, "You're free to leave at any point," end quote. Now, I don't know what he meant by this. I'm not in his head. I'm not pretending to be in his head. I'm not pretending to suggest I know what he thinks on a daily basis. So I can only go off how I interpreted it. When I saw this tweet, I interpreted it as more of an ironic point that, you know what, at this point, we don't have much choice. There's nowhere else for where we can go at this point. So, like, what are we going to do? We can either say, oh no, there are too many people, or we can say, well, we have this many people, and let's deal with that. And personally, that's what I think he was going for. And he actually clarified this too, by the way. And he said that his point was that when you say something like this, it means you believe there are excess people on Earth. And so let's do a thought experiment here. Who are these people? Who are these excess people that are on Earth? Are they a specific race of people? Are they the poor? Is that the problem? Should we believe in eugenics? Are they all the criminals? I mean, yeah, we lock up criminals for stupid drug offenses, in my opinion. Marijuana is legal in my country. I think it should be for most of the world, quite honestly, especially the US at this point. And there are some innocent people, like I said, in prison too, but, you know, for the most part, it is the criminals, so maybe we should just get rid of them. But let's think about this. Okay, there's too many people, so how do we then deal with that? First of all, you have to choose an other class that basically is less than everyone else when you're thinking like this. And secondly, again, what I said, like I said, what do you do about them? Do we sterilize them? That sounds horrific. That's an atrocity. Do we commit genocide against them? That doesn't sound like a good idea. What do we do other than just accept that this is the population and we're going to have to just deal with it as it is? And the point he's making is that no matter how you think about this problem, if you're thinking that there is an other class, like I said, then you're going to have to deal with them in a way that causes an atrocity. And the problem is such atrocities have actually happened in real life for the reasons we're talking about here. So, or at least those are the excuses that people can give to cause those atrocities. So it's a very dangerous line of thinking to start putting people in that other category that they don't deserve to live because there's too many of us on the planet. Incidentally, the complainant, whoever it was, claimed that they believed he was promoting unaliving yourself. You know what I mean. I don't want to say the word, and I don't want to get this all... I don't want YouTube to worry about certain things. So, oh yes, next he announced he was returning to New Zealand, and in New Zealand, a lot of the left-wing news started freaking out and making personal attacks against him. So he made the joke, and he tweeted Jacinda Ardern, who was the Prime Minister for New Zealand at the time, now former Prime Minister. I'm coming back at, again, I quote, "I'm coming back at Jacinda Ardern, alt-right-wing trolls gathering in my wake, a veritable dread army of the night. Or are they ordinary people trying to clear up their rooms and mend their families?" Pointing out that the left-wing news in New Zealand were basically saying that these were horrible, evil people, and he's pointing out, no, they're not horrible. They're just trying to fix their lives. They're just trying to make themselves better. So what happened? Basically, based on these complaints, the College of Psychologists of Ontario deemed that Jordan Peterson has done wrong. Now, I understand that as a professional, you have to be held to a slightly higher standard. I get that. But what here is so atrocious that there should be punishment for? It's all just his opinion. I think for the person claiming that he was promoting unaliving yourself, I think that's a hell of a stretch. I think you have to have both eyes squinting with 6 pairs of glasses to find that. To me, this is entirely a free speech issue at this point. And basically, what the college determined was that he has to go through, he can't be a clinical psychologist until he goes through social media communication retraining, where he has to train one-on-one with an expert, quote-unquote, expert of their choice, which he has to pay for. That's not an issue for him. But he has to pay for it, and they will decide when he is ready to be a psychologist again. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so Jordan Peterson asked a bunch of questions to the college, and basically, now Jordan Peterson is saying this. I have seen no response from the college itself on this. But Jordan Peterson made a bunch of a bunch of challenges to their rulings, essentially, and he is claiming, so take it with a little bit of grain of salt, we don't know the other side of the story, but he is claiming they basically said, we don't have to answer your questions and we can do whatever the hell we want. I hope that's not the case, but it could be. Now, I tried reading the Ontario College of Psychologists Code of Ethics, and it is very it's complicated. So I'm no expert in it by any means. So I checked a lawyer on YouTube who actually had talked about it, and I wanted to see what she had to say. And her point was that the Code of Ethics is so broad and vague, and most terms are undefined, that it allows for them to interpret the rules as however they want and rule whatever they want, and it's covered, essentially. So, like, for instance, they in the Code of Ethics, it'll say something like, you can't comment anything that would promote harm to another person. But they don't define what harm is. So, okay, let's say I tweet something. I don't have Twitter, but let's say I go on Twitter and I tweet, I like cats. Now, let's say someone's allergic to cats, and they take offense. Am I harming them by tweeting that? I mean, theoretically I could be, because they haven't defined what harm is. Could someone who likes dogs think I am insulting dog lovers because, I only said I love cats? To be fair, I love all animals, but I have a cat and I love him, and I'm saying, hey, I love cats. But how do they know that? In my opinion, that's their interpretation and that's their issue. But according to the Ontario College of Psychologists, they can interpret it however they want, and it's totally they're okay with that. And Jordan Peterson is in the wrong. By the way, Dr. Jordan Peterson has said that he is going to fight this in court if he has to, and I think he will. I hope it goes in his favor, because in my mind this is entirely a free speech issue. But what is troublesome is that so they're basically saying that you can't have an opinion if it's an opinion we don't like. And unfortunately, people online now, they're staying anonymous, because if they came out and said, yes, I'm a lawyer, and the College of Lawyers are doing the exact same thing, then they would, the College of Lawyers would come down on them. But there have been multiple people claiming they're like doctors, lawyers, teachers, and this is the absolute norm. There are lawyers claiming that there are things they can no longer tell their clients because they will get potentially in trouble, even though legally that is the best case, and that's the best thing that the client should do. But because the college disagrees with that, they can't say it anymore, or they're not supposed to say it, or they could be penalized for it. But the college ruling actually suggests to me that Dr. Jordan Peterson is doing something very right. Let me explain. So, many people over the years, ever since Dr. Jordan Peterson started talking about Bill C-16 here in Canada, have tried to quote-unquote take him out. They have all failed. All their methods have failed, and they have failed miserably. There's no ammunition against Dr. Jordan Peterson that they can use against him. He's very eloquent, he's very well spoken, he is very intelligent, he knows how to debate, he knows how to defend himself, and a lot of people have come up against him, and a lot of people have embarrassed themselves. So what you're saying is, you don't like this. If you follow Dr. Jordan Peterson, you know exactly who I'm talking about. There are many others too, but it is what it is. But so they can't take him out legitimately. So now they're trying to take him out this way. And actually, to be fair, I know Dr. Jordan Peterson wants to continue being a clinical psychologist. And fair enough, if you enjoy doing it, you enjoy doing it. But really, if the courts rule that the College of Psychologists is okay to penalize him for this, I don't think he's going to do that retraining. I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. If he doesn't, he loses his license. If he loses his license, they've just uncaged a beast. Because really, I don't think he's been holding back all that much. And I don't think he would say anything really crazy even if he wasn't a clinical psychologist. He's not that type of person. That being said, he could start saying a lot more. And it's not like his clinical profession is the only thing keeping him afloat. He's written multiple books. He's doing multiple tours. He's making lots of money. This isn't an issue for him. So you're really not shutting him down by doing this. It'll be sad for him, and it will suck for him, because I really do think he likes to help people, and I think his clinical profession is one way in which he does that. But you're not canceling him by doing this, and you might release him even further into the world, because that time can be used now to do other things. So yeah, have fun with that idea. But I do want to finish with one other thought. Have you noticed, and it's not just lately, by the way, but let's say lately, have you noticed lately that people that are being targeted like this aren't the ones with the extreme views anymore? They're the ones, the people with extreme views just keep saying their extreme views, and they say whatever thought comes into their head, and they just go about their lives, and they're never targeted for it. The people who now get targeted are ones that, number one, they lay down a reasonable logical argument, aka feelings don't matter when there's evidence and reality exists. Number two, they promote unity above division, and number three, they try to help people get and feel better about themselves. And I want you to ask yourself one simple question. Why would a government or a regulatory board be worried about that type of person? And you can answer this for yourselves. I've been thinking about this question for a long time. Like I said, this has been happening for a while. And maybe I'm a little conspiratorial on this, but if you think about it, a country should want their population healthy, both mentally and physically, because it's better for their country. Their people will be more productive if they're mentally and physically healthy. If they're more mentally and physically healthy, it drains less of the economy with missed work days for either they're sick or they're just not feeling well mentally. It reduces healthcare costs that can drain an economy as well. So this should be what every country strives for. Every country should want the most healthy population that they can. But this isn't what we're looking at anymore. And anyone who promotes, go back and look, even from like the 60s onwards, go back and look. Anyone who promotes unity and self-improvement and getting yourself physically and mentally better is attacked and removed, or attempted to be removed. And the only reason I can think that a country wouldn't want a healthy population is because it's way harder to control them if they're healthy. So let's say you're physically unhealthy for whatever reason. Maybe the food you eat is full of unnecessary chemicals. Maybe you have no time to actually make a meal because you're working two jobs because no one will hire you full time. and you have to get a lot of takeout, whatever the reason. Those are just two examples. The government can then come in and say, oh, look at you, you're so bad for all of your health choices, trying to destroy your self-esteem and self-worth. But they'll say, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to fix this for you. All you have to do is exactly what we say, how we say it, and when we say it. And look at that, they keep control. And let's say you're mentally unhealthy or even just incredibly stressed. We are bombarded with negative information constantly. Constantly, 24/7. Oh, the inflation is rising, global climate change is happening, there's a coming recession, groceries are costing more, there's new COVID strains, gas prices are going up, there's a war in Iraq, death and crime is happening, earthquakes in such a place, and Putin might nuke the world, etc., 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 etc. And it just keeps going and going and going, and we constantly hear this. Those things distract people from the more important issues happening around them that they can actually do something about. If you think about all of those things I mentioned, how many of those things do we have to absolutely deal with right now? On a personal level, not via a country, but on a personal level. Okay, inflation. Yeah, it's gonna kind of suck. I'm gonna have to penny pinch a little bit, but I'll probably get through it either way. I should be okay financially. Global climate change. Yes, that's an issue. I should work on reducing my impact to the greenhouse gases that are being emitted, and I can choose to do that. But if there's one day where I'm a little more stressed, maybe I don't have to worry about it that day as much, as long as overall I am reducing over, let's say, a year's period or however long. New COVID strains. There's no evidence that these new COVID strains are any more deadly than the ones that came before it, so gas prices going up again. It's kind of the same with the groceries and the inflation. Unfortunately, it's a thing. We just have to deal with it. War in Ukraine. It's horrible that it's going on. Don't get me wrong, but I live in Canada. It's not happening here. Thankfully, I'm glad it's not happening here. And when I'm able to, I will be more than willing to help aid Ukraine, either by donating or doing other things to help. That being said, if I can't handle that right now, that's not an issue I have to deal with. Death and crimes are being reported at a level way higher than they're actually happening. Earthquake, it didn't happen here. Again, it sucks that it happened. And if you really are financially able to, you can donate to help. There are many different charities that will take that donation and get it to the places it's needed. And Putin could nuke at any time for any reason, and even if he does, there's nothing we can do about it. So if it happens, it happens. It'll be over soon. That's the way I see that. So most of those things, in my opinion, are just pure distraction. As well, they're causing a lot of fear in people. And it's been proven over and over again that scared people are willing to sacrifice their rights under the guise of protection by the government. I'll give you a great example. 9/11 happened. It's horrible that it happened, don't get me wrong. But if the information that Edward Snowden leaked came out before 9/11, I think it would have been viewed much, much differently. After 9/11, it was viewed more in lines of, yeah, they're doing this, but you know what, maybe it's making a difference, even though there's actually no evidence that any terrorist has been caught on that. It could make a difference, so okay, I guess a little bit of spying on their own people is okay, like it's very easy to make that excuse as it's okay because safety. In my opinion, once you give up a right, you've lost that right. You're never going to get it back. The government's not going to walk it back. So, and again, in my personal opinion, you deserve to lose it if you're going to give it up that easily. And yeah, so healthy people are much less likely to get distracted by these small issues thrown at them on a regular basis. And hey, healthy people might even realize that they have more in common with each other than differences, and unite to try to make positive change for humanity. And they might just take some power away from the people who currently have it. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why people like Jordan Peterson are being attacked right now. Just a thought. But hey, that's just my opinion. You might have a different one, and if you do, great. I hope you have a good day. I know this was a long video, but I just want to get it out. So I'm just going to get it out as one video. It'll probably lose a lot of views that way, but oh well, so be it. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.